Picture this scenario. Um, you wake up, you look out your window, and it is just a beautiful, totally clear spring morning.
Oh, yeah. The absolute best kind of morning.
Right. The sky is that super crisp blue, the sun is streaming in, and your brain just immediately goes, okay, winter is finally over. We made it.
Exactly. You see that sunlight, and your instincts just tell you it's time to shed the winter gear.
So you grab like a light t-shirt. Maybe you pull out those canvas shoes that have been hiding in your closet for 5 months, and you confidently step out the front door.
And then reality hits.
Boom! Within 3 seconds, this massive gust of wind hits you, and it doesn't just feel cool. It feels like an icy blade going right into your bones.
It's the worst feeling.
It really is. You look up at the sun, and you're just completely baffled. You have been totally tricked by the spring weather.
I mean, that visceral sense of betrayal is pretty much a universal human experience. Our eyes see the bright light, and we expect warmth.
Right, but the actual weather is playing a completely different game.
Exactly. And that clash between what we expect
Right.
and what is actually happening isn't just annoying. It's actually a really specific and kind of dangerous vulnerability for our bodies.
Which is exactly the central mystery we are pulling apart today.
Awesome.
Welcome to our deep dive. Our sources today are analyzing this fascinating ancient Chinese proverb.
Yes, the proverb is春捂秋冻,
Right, which translates roughly to cover up in spring, freeze in autumn.
which completely challenges what we normally do. The minute it gets a little warm, we want to take our layers off.
Totally. But our mission today is to decode that first half of the phrase, the chunwu or spring cover, because our sources show this is not just some old wives' tale.
Absolutely not. It's actually a highly precise, science-backed guide to surviving the spring transition.
Yeah, it's about not getting sick. Because I do this every year, I look at my weather app, I see the sunny icon, and I dress completely wrong for the day.
We all do it. But the source material explains that taking off your winter coat too early is essentially a massive shock to your biology.
So let's start with that systemic shock. Because to understand why my body punishes me for wearing a t-shirt in March, we have to look at thermoregulation.
Right, the body's internal thermostat.
But the sources say it's more than just the thermostat. What is our biological machinery actually doing during the winter?
Well, throughout the deep winter, your body goes into a sort of lockdown mode to protect itself.
A lockdown.
Yeah, specifically your blood vessels. The body commands the blood vessels near your skin to shrink down and tighten up.
Okay, so they physically get smaller.
Exactly. It's called vasoconstriction. By shrinking those vessels, the body keeps all the warm blood deep inside, around your vital organs. It's basically building an internal fortress to trap the heat.
That makes sense. So for months, my system is holding this super tight defensive posture.
Right.
But then spring hits, the air gets a little warmer, the sun comes out. What happens to the fortress then?
Well, the body naturally starts to open up. It tells those blood vessels to finally relax. They widen, and blood flows back to the surface of your skin.
Which feels amazing. You get that warm flush, and you feel alive again.
It does feel great. But the sources highlight that this exact moment of opening up is incredibly dangerous.
They actually have a name for it, right?
Yes, late spring coldness, or Dao Chun Han.
Late spring coldness. So why is relaxing our blood vessels such a huge liability?
Because spring weather is just totally chaotic. You have warm air mixing with lingering, freezing wind.
Right. It's up and down every day.
Exactly. And when your blood vessels are all relaxed and open, and then a sudden icy wind hits you, your body is caught completely off guard.
But wait, if the cold wind hits me, shouldn't my body just instantly tighten those blood vessels back up?
You'd think so, but there's a serious lag time. The sun warms your skin, so your skin tells your brain, hey, it's warm. But your deep muscles and bones are basically still frozen.
Oh, wow. So they're still stuck in winter mode.
Yes, they haven't acclimated yet. It takes weeks of sustained warmth for your deep tissues to reset. So you have this illusion of warmth just on the surface.
That is wild. So my skin is telling my brain it's May, but my bones think it's January.
Precisely. And if you take off your heavy clothes just because your skin feels warm, you lose your protection.
And then that cold spring wind hits.
Right. The temperature drops instantly. Your open blood vessels are suddenly exposed, and your brain basically panics. It orders an emergency, violent lockdown of those blood vessels.
They just slam shut.
Exactly. They spasm and slam shut so fast that it forces all that blood back to your core at once.
That sounds incredibly stressful on the heart.
It is massive stress for the cardiovascular system,
Yeah.
but it also directly impacts your immune system, which is why everyone gets sick in the spring.
Yes. I've always wondered about this. Like, March and April roll around, and half my office is suddenly out with the flu or a cold. Why does slamming blood vessels shut cause a cold?
Well, think about how your immune system travels. Your white blood cells use your blood vessels like highways to get to the germs.
Okay, that makes sense.
When those blood vessels in your nose and throat violently clamp shut from the cold wind, you are literally cutting off the highway.
Oh man, so the white blood cells can't get to the viruses trying to enter my nose?
Exactly. You are severely reducing your localized immune response.
Yeah.
Plus, the sudden cold paralyzes the tiny hairs in your airways that sweep away the germs.
So by walking outside in a t-shirt, I am practically rolling out the red carpet for every germ in the neighborhood.
You really are. Your body is so busy trying to save its core temperature that it leaves the front door wide open for viruses.
It really reminds me of a house in the spring. Like you've just thrown open all the windows to enjoy a nice warm breeze.
Right.
But then out of nowhere, a sudden blizzard blows through. You simply can't run around and slam all the windows shut fast enough to keep the cold out.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
The lag time's what gets you. And that is exactly where the spring cover comes in. It acts as a protective buffer zone.
Okay, so the spring cover keeps the cold air from rushing in while the windows are still open.
Precisely. It gives your deep tissues the weeks they need to slowly warm up without constantly shocking your system.
Okay, I understand the danger now. But here's my issue. I can't just guess when it's safe. Like, how do I know exactly when to pack away my winter coat?
Well, the great thing about our sources is that they don't leave you guessing. They actually provide 3 specific scientific rules for this.
Yes, actual math. Let's break down the first one. Rule number 1 is the 15 degrees Celsius magic number.
Right, so 15 degrees Celsius is about 59 degrees Fahrenheit.
And the doctors say that if the temperature is below 15 degrees, you must keep covering up.
Exactly. 15 degrees is a biological threshold. Below that, your body has to work hard to generate heat.
But the sources are really specific about this. If the weather app says it's going to hit 15 degrees for like an hour in the afternoon, does that mean I can wear a t-shirt?
Absolutely not. A quick spike in temperature only warms your skin. To actually warm up those deep tissues, you need sustained heat.
So how long are we talking?
The rule is that the temperature has to stay above 15 degrees Celsius for several days in a row before you can safely switch to lighter clothes.
Wow, several days. You really have to force the weather to prove that spring is actually here to stay.
You do. Nature changes slowly, so we have to adapt slowly.
Okay, rule number 2, the 8-degree difference. This one is all about the gap between the day and night temperatures, right?
Yes. You have to watch the high and low temperatures for the day. If the difference between them is more than 8 degrees Celsius.
Which is about a 15-degree Fahrenheit drop.
Right. If the temperature swing is that huge, you have to keep your heavy layers on. The sources use northern cities like Harbin as an example, where it gets super warm at noon but freezing at night.
So why is that big swing so dangerous?
Because if you dress light for the warm afternoon, your blood vessels open wide. Then the sun sets, the temperature plummets, and boom, thermal shock.
The violent lockdown happens all over again.
Exactly. By keeping your coat on during those high swing days, you stop your vessels from opening completely. You stay protected for when the evening cold hits.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Now, rule number 3, the top-down rule. This one completely blew my mind because it is the exact opposite of what everyone does.
The top-down rule is fascinating. It basically says you must always keep your lower body warmer than your upper body.
But look at people in the spring. Everyone wears a heavy jacket on top and then shorts, or they roll up their jeans to show off their bare ankles.
I know, it's a terrible idea biologically.
Why is having cold ankles so bad for you?
Well, think about your heart. It pumps warm blood all the way down to your feet. But getting that blood back up to your heart is hard work because it's fighting gravity.
So the blood flow returning from your feet is pretty slow.
Very slow. And because it's moving slowly near your skin, if your ankles are exposed to the cold wind, that blood gets chilled. Literally, the temperature of the blood drops.
Wait, really? The actual blood gets cold?
Yes. And then that physically chilled blood slowly travels all the way up your legs and dumps straight into your heart.
Oh my gosh.
When your heart detects cold blood coming in, your brain freaks out. It thinks you are freezing from the inside out.
So it triggers that massive panic and shuts down the immune highways, even if you're wearing a thick sweater on your chest.
Exactly. Your lower extremities are the weakest link. If your feet and ankles are cold, your whole body will feel the chill and go into panic mode.
That is incredible. Okay, so I am totally sold on these 3 rules. But I have to push back a little here.
Okay, what's the issue?
Let's say I follow the rules perfectly. It's under 15 degrees. There's a big day-to-night swing, so I keep my heavy coat on. But I'm walking home carrying a bunch of heavy groceries at noon.
Right.
The sun is bright, I'm working hard, and I start sweating like crazy inside this heavy winter coat. Isn't sweating in a coat going to make me sick too?
You've just hit on the biggest exception to the spring cover rule. The source material is very clear that sweating changes the math completely.
Because the sources mention this covering up is really most crucial for kids and the elderly, right?
Yes, because their internal thermostats aren't as strong. But for a healthy adult, if you are actively sweating inside a coat, you have to take a layer off.
Really? Even if it breaks the 15-degree rule?
Yes, because if you sweat, you fall into the evaporative cooling trap, which is extremely dangerous.
Okay, let's break down the sweat trap. Why is sweating in the cold so much worse than just being cold?
Well, when you sweat inside a heavy coat, the moisture gets trapped against your skin. It gets hot and humid in there.
Right, it feels pretty gross. And then what happens when I finally unzip the coat to get some air?
The cold spring wind hits that trapped sweat, and the water on your skin evaporates really quickly into the dry air.
And evaporation makes things cold.
Exactly. To turn from a liquid to a gas, the water literally vacuums heat out of the closest thing it can find, which is your skin.
Oh, wow. So the sweat steals my body heat.
Yes, it steals it incredibly fast. This rapid cooling will flash freeze your core and make you sick much, much faster than if you had just been slightly chilly while completely dry.
So we are completely trapped. If we take the coat off, the wind shocks us. If we keep it on and sweat, the sweat freezes us. What are we supposed to do?
The sources have a great solution for this, too. It's a strategy we can call dynamic layering, or basically dressing like an onion.
Okay, the onion strategy, using multiple layers instead of just one giant parka.
Exactly. You want a base layer, a middle layer like a sweater, and a wind-resistant jacket on top. The goal is to always feel comfortably warm, but never hot.
So I just manually manage my own heat. If I'm carrying groceries and I feel myself getting hot, I take off the jacket before I start sweating.
Right. You let that excess heat escape. But crucially, you keep the jacket right there in your hand.
So the minute I stop walking or the wind picks up, I just put it right back on.
Exactly. You seal the fortress back up before the cold can penetrate your baseline defenses.
I love that. You basically become your own thermostat. You expand and contract your layers so your blood vessels don't have to violently expand and contract.
That's a great way to put it. And honestly, this onion strategy really perfectly captures the broader philosophy behind all of this.
Oh, so?
Well, Chunwu is ultimately about finding harmony between our bodies and nature. Nature doesn't just snap from winter to summer in one day.
Right, it's a slow, gradual change.
Exactly. So we have to change our habits slowly. We have to ease our biology into the new season.
And I guess that's the exact same logic for the second half of the proverb, right? The autumn freeze part.
Yes. You let the body get used to the cold slowly in the fall to build up your resilience for the winter. It's all about respecting the natural pace of things.
Wow. So to survive spring, we must all strive to be a healthy onion.
Pretty much.
Okay, so just to summarize all of these amazing takeaways for everyone listening, the spring cover is a biological buffer zone.
Right. Don't let the sun trick you.
Respect the 15-degree rule, guard against the 8-degree temperature swings, keep your ankles covered so your heart doesn't panic.
And definitely layer up like an onion to avoid the sweat trap.
Exactly. So, your mission for today, listeners, is to look at tomorrow's weather forecast. But ignore the sunny icon.
Look at the actual numbers.
Yes. Check the high and low temperatures,
Yeah.
apply the rules you just learned, and use that math to figure out your perfect outfit of the day.
It really changes how you look at getting dressed in the morning.
It totally does.
Yeah.
But, as we talk about this, it leaves me with one final kind of unsettling thought.
What's that?
Well, this whole ancient wisdom relies on us actually experiencing the slow transition of the seasons, right? Our bodies slowly getting used to the outdoors.
Right, a natural acclimation.
But look at how we live today. We wake up in a 70-degree heated house, get into a heated car, and walk into a heavily air-conditioned office building.
Oh, I see where you're going.
We spend all day jumping between these artificial climate-controlled boxes. Have our modern lives completely broken our natural ability to adapt to the seasons?
That is a fascinating point. We really don't let our bodies adjust naturally anymore.
Right. Our modern heating and AC systems slowly erasing the exact biological resilience that the spring cover was designed to protect. It's definitely something to think about the next time you hear your office AC kick on in April.
Definitely.
Well, that's all for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening and stay warm out there.